You see the flexing of those massive muscles almost coming up off the ground.
New research has revealed that under the water's surface, these predators are communicating in ways never heard before.
Florida's Everglades are known for one thing, being the deadliest swamp in the country. For thousands of years, two reptilian kings held a fragile truce here. But in 2009, rangers noticed something that made their blood run cold. The apex predators weren't fighting, they were vanishing. Entire nesting grounds went silent overnight. Scientists were baffled because nothing on Earth scares a full-grown American crocodile. At least, that is what they thought. They were about to discover a monster from 6,000 miles away that had turned their swamp into its personal buffet. The silent war for the water. The Florida Everglades, often called the River of Grass, is a place that looks peaceful on a postcard, but is actually a brutal battlefield. It is a world of slow-moving water and endless sawgrass, a landscape that is as beautiful as it is unforgiving. In this vast, watery expanse, survival is not guaranteed for anyone. It is a place where only the strongest, the fastest, and the smartest get to see another sunrise. For a very long time, that meant two legendary reptiles sat at the very top of the food chain, splitting the crown between them. One of the rulers and the brute force enforcer of this swamp is the American alligator. You have seen them. They are powerful armored tanks. They are generalists, meaning they can thrive almost anywhere as long as the water is fresh.
All up the east coast of America, luxury developments are built on prime alligator habitat.
They are the loud, visible muscle of the swamp. Then there is their more evasive cousin, the American crocodile. Even though to the untrained eye they might seem not so different from each other, they are like night and day. While the alligators are the loud extroverts, commanding respect openly and thrashing about, the American crocodile is the introvert. They are mostly shy, reclusive, and incredibly difficult to spot. If you are lucky enough to see one in the wild, it just might instinctively try to swim away from you before you can even grab your camera. These creatures usually want absolutely nothing to do with people. In fact, their safety record is really all you need to know about their temperament. Contrary to the scary movies, there has never been a confirmed fatal attack by an American crocodile on a human in the wild in United States history.
They bite about 6 people a year. These numbers alone help explain why American crocodile bites are so rare, and their behavior explains the rest.
For generations, these two species managed to share the landscape peacefully. The alligators kept to the fresh water inland, and the crocodiles stayed in the salty coastal areas. They respected the boundaries. It was a balance that nature spent millions of years perfecting. We knew their habits, we knew their temperaments, and the system worked because every animal stayed in its lane. But in 2009, that ancient treaty was broken. Rangers and biologists began noticing that the rules were being ignored, and for the first time in history, the kings of the swamp were looking over their shoulders in fear. But here is the catch. When an apex predator starts running, you know something truly monstrous is chasing it. When the apex predators run, the first signs of this disaster were incredibly subtle, the kind of things you would miss if you weren't looking closely. Veteran airboat captains, the guys who knew every gator and croc in their territory by name, started reporting strange things. They noticed that the strongest American crocodiles, the big dominant males that had held the best nesting spots for a decade, were gone. You would think they probably relocated or found new territories, right? But nature doesn't work like that. The basking spots that these particular crocodiles lived in and fought for were prime real estate. They were now abandoned completely. Something was causing these animals to leave their territories, and it wasn't a choice, it was an evacuation. If an apex predator is running, what on earth is it running from? It wasn't until a terrifying discovery deep in the swamp alerted the attention of biologists that the pieces started to fit together. There were rumors of strange sightings in the swamps, but also in canals and other places where crocodiles had no business being. Then came the bodies. These were remains of crocodiles and alligators, and not just the small ones. We are talking about the remains of the rulers of the Florida Everglades. It was as if something was clearing the area with extreme, unnecessary violence. How these rulers of the swamp were able to vanish without a struggle was another question that no one had any answers to. The most unnerving change, however, was the silence. The breeding grounds had suddenly become a ghost town. For a while, the American crocodile has been a protected species. After years of conservative efforts, these species have had successful breeding, filling the remote estuaries with new generations. Now, those nurseries were empty. Areas that should have been teeming with year-old juveniles were barren. An entire local food chain was disrupted because the natural rulers of the environment had suddenly adopted flight behavior. This usually happens when an animal on the top of the food chain, like the American crocodile, decides that it is no longer the biggest fish in the pond. When something like this happens, there is no doubt that the potential threat is absolutely undeniable. Adding to the confusion were increasingly aggressive encounters with people. We already established that the Native American crocodile is a shy creature. Yet, fishermen reported crocs were suddenly snapping at boats or chasing people.
A fisherman in the Northern Territory says he's happy to be alive after being shaken awake by a monster croc while sleeping in his boat.
To biologists, these reports and evidence did not add up. They knew a dangerous and external force was at play. Something was bullying the apex predators out of their own home, and everyone thought they knew exactly who the culprit was. The red herring that burst open. When the reports of missing and injured crocodiles started piling up, everyone pointed the finger at the usual suspect, the Burmese python. These massive invasive snakes were already the undisputed boogeyman of the Everglades. Naturally, pythons are known for wiping out local mammal populations, eating everything from raccoons to deer to bobcats. So, it made perfect sense to assume these gigantic constrictors had finally grown big and ambitious enough to start targeting the crocodile population, especially the kings of this particular swamp. We know pythons are willing to go after big game. This theory brings us back to 2005, in a legendary incident that proved just how ambitious these snakes can be. A massive python tried to swallow a 6-foot alligator whole. The snake literally burst open trying to consume its rival. The alligator was found halfway inside the snake, with the snake's body ruptured from the sheer size of its meal. This grotesque image made headlines around the world. As the python population expanded and spread deeper into the mangrove forests, which is coincidentally the exact territory of the American crocodile, most people assumed this was simply the next stage of the turf war. People thought, okay, the snakes have finally won. It was a logical conclusion. You have a massive snake that squeezes things to death, and you have disappearing crocodiles. It seemed like an open and shut case. However, the forensic evidence refused to corroborate this theory. Biologists, after a thorough examination of the few remains they found, quickly realized what they had seen wasn't the work of a python. Pythons eliminate by suffocating their prey. They wrap around them, squeezing the life out of them until the heart stops. It is a slow, crushing end. But these missing crocodiles showed no signs of being crushed. It was clear that something else caused the deaths of these reptiles. Something that used teeth and tearing force, not constriction. Now that the first suspect was out of the picture, the uncertainty was troubling. The fact that this monster could wipe out the kings of the swamps without leaving a trace of a struggle wasn't a good sign. This new threat wasn't afraid to leave a trail in its path, proving it was an apex monster. If it wasn't the snake squeezing the life out of the Everglades, the truth was something far darker and much harder to spot. The monster hiding in plain sight. The turning point came when the University of Florida's herpetology team captured a young crocodile they found near a densely populated urban area, miles from any established American crocodile territory. The location alone was a major red flag. Native crocs stick to the mangroves. They don't usually hang out in city canals. When the team got a good look at the animal, they felt an immediate sense of worry. The look of this young animal was a perfect example of what is called the uncanny valley effect. Even though it looked almost right, something about it was just off. The snout was unusually broader and more robust than normal. It had a darker color that looked olive black instead of the familiar grayish green of the native species. It also had bony ridges on its back that didn't match the textbooks. But that wasn't all. What was more concerning was its personality. For a young animal, it was wildly aggressive. It displayed a predatory boldness never seen even in fully grown native crocodiles. It was snapping, hissing, and trying to attack the handlers.
Thousands of miles east, a lean, fast-moving croc was found in Papua New Guinea's rushing inland rivers. Agile, territorial, and behaviorally unique.
The team of scientists was baffled. They wondered if they had gotten their hands on some kind of mutant species or a hybrid crocodile that had crossbred with an alligator. They had no clear answers, and the only way to know for sure was to send tissue samples to a lab. This began an anxious wait for DNA results that would take months. During this tense period, more reports of these strange crocodiles came in. Even before the DNA results came back, researchers observed something terrifying about these species. These mystery crocodiles were growing an estimated 28% faster than the natives. They were far more aggressive and bigger than native crocodiles of the same age. Whatever this creature was, it was not only surviving in Florida's environment, but it was also thriving better than the native kings. The long-awaited results finally came, and what they saw would prove a situation far worse than they expected. The DNA did not match the Native American crocodile. It was not a mutant, and it was not an alligator hybrid. Instead, it was a perfect match for Crocodilus niloticus. The strange, aggressive crocodile they had found in a Miami canal was, without a doubt, a Nile crocodile. The realization that the gentle, reclusive reptile was being replaced by a monster from across the ocean wasn't what they had guessed. And worst of all, the difference between the two species was enormous. The Native American crocodile, as we know, has 0 recorded human fatalities in the United States. But the Nile crocodile is the exact opposite. The Nile croc holds a notorious reputation as an indiscriminate man-eater. Across its native Africa, it is responsible for an estimated 200 human deaths every year. This is a predator whose biology focuses on large mammals, wildebeest, zebras, and humans. Its aggression is legendary. Its physical prowess backs up its terrifying reputation. These crocodiles can grow up to 18 feet in length and can weigh over a ton. Their bite force is among the strongest in the entire animal kingdom, capable of crushing bone like it is cardboard. To put it in perspective, a Nile crocodile has a bite force of 5,000 pounds per square inch. That is more powerful than a great white shark. The Native American crocodiles were not dying from a natural event. They were being outcompeted, displaced, and perhaps even preyed upon by a cousin that was stronger, faster, and exponentially more aggressive. This apex predator and notorious man-eater from 6,000 miles away had suddenly established itself, hiding in plain sight, and was now taking over the throne of the Florida swamps. The identity was confirmed, and the monster is real. But how does an African giant end up in a Florida backyard? The two-legged villains. One thing is for sure, these crocodiles didn't just swim 6,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean. They didn't hop on a plane with a passport. The only logical explanation points to human activities, and in South Florida, that means only one thing: the exotic pet trade. Florida has a massive, often unregulated black market for exotic animals. It is the hub for people who think owning a tiger or a venomous snake makes them cool. While Nile crocodiles are strictly illegal to possess without special, high-security permits, reckless collectors treat these deadly predators as pets. They buy them when they are small, cute hatchlings, maybe 6 or 10 inches long. They put them in a tank in their living room and show them off to friends. But then, biology kicks in. That cute lizard grows into a colossal, unmanageable man-eater. It eats more chicken than the owner can afford. It starts snapping at the owner's hand. It gets too big for the bathtub. When the reality sets in, these owners don't call animal control because they would get arrested. Instead, they drive out to the edge of the swamp, open the trunk, and release the monster into the wild. After a series of genetic tests, the captured Nile crocodiles were found to be genetically identical. This was proof that they weren't random separate incidents. In fact, they all likely originated from a small group of hatchlings that either escaped from a poorly secured private facility or, more probably, were intentionally released by a single owner who could no longer handle them. Do you think that if a Nile crocodile is spotted again in the swamps, it should be eliminated? Or do you think there is a more humane way to handle our mistake? Let us know in the comments below. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.